Happy New Year and welcome to another episode of The Weekly Waypoint. Still going strong. Today we're playing Halo Infinite. We're doing some Tactical Slayer because I've got one challenge left this week and it's to play a lot of Tactical Slayer. And something I realised while playing Tactical Slayer is that I am much better at Tactical Slayer. Not to be rude, but I think it's probably true of everyone when I'm playing alone because I'm more honed into the footsteps and stuff and I'm not just talking and stuff. I still have more fun playing Tactical Slayer when I'm talking to a friend, obviously, but I do better in Tactical Slayer when I'm playing alone. That being said, don't expect top tier plays. The first game's better than the second. Spoiler alert. I can't remember if I featured Tactical Slayer on the Weekly Waypoint before, so if you haven't played Halo Infinite, it's SWAT, and if you haven't played Halo, it's no shields, headshots, instantly kill. It's insta-gib, or as close as Halo's going to get to it, which I was delighted to learn that Halo had when I started playing Halo because I grew up on Unreal Tournament's insta-gib mode. It's more difficult than Unreal Tournament's insta-gib mode because you have to get a headshot and not just hit anywhere on the body, but that just makes it more fun depending on the map. The second map, I never remember the names of Halo maps, but the second map I do not like for Tactical Slayer, and that's the map we got. So, but this one's pretty fun for Tactical Slayer when it's smaller, when it's closer combat, when it's more angles and corridors. It's fine. When it's long, wide open spaces and the second you pop your head out, someone's just been watching that corner for 30 seconds for you to pop your head out and they immediately kill you before you get a chance to survey your surroundings. Yeah, that's not quite as fun. I've been playing a little bit more Halo Infinite lately. I know it's only just come out, so it's a bit weird to say that, but I definitely dropped off playing it when I got super into Final Fantasy a couple of weeks ago. And I'm still super into Final Fantasy XIV, but I think partially because the queues are a lot better now, but also just because I'm up to date, well not up to date, but I'm in the latest expansion, so I have less story mystery ahead of me, less spoilable content ahead of me. I'm sure there's still plenty of stuff that's spoilable, but there's less of it, if you know what I mean, to accidentally stumble upon. Because of those two reasons, I feel less urgent to go and play it, or less urgent to even focus on the main story quest when I'm playing it at the minute. So, for instance, I feel like people are being a lot more careful about Endwalker spoilers than they probably would be about Stormblood spoilers or something like that. So it's kind of allowed me, even though I'm still really into it and still playing it almost every day. I think I took a 3-day break from it and then I went back into playing it every day. It's kind of afforded me more time to go and play some other games like Halo Infinite or Final Fantasy XV. I guess we should talk about that a little bit. I saw Final Fantasy XV was on sale for £15. I had a fiver from my Microsoft reward points, so I got it for a tenner. And I know it's coming to Game Pass eventually, but I'm kind of tired of waiting, and I know I'm not probably going to finish it by the time it leaves Game Pass because I take JRPGs really slowly in spurts. So, sorry, spurts is a funny word, caught myself off guard with that one. But I've tried a lot of the previous Final Fantasy games on Game Pass, and I either don't like them, Final Fantasy XIII, or just I find them slightly too dated to get into, Final Fantasy XII. But I have played some Final Fantasy XV on PS4 via the PlayStation Now service, and I liked what I played of it. It was only the first hour, but it was enough to know that I would like it. And so, yeah, I just decided, to pick it up for a tenner. And that was one of the games I got myself for Christmas. Or I guess for New Year's, because it was after Christmas. I don't know. I still haven't played too much of it. I've played further than I played on PlayStation Now. The combat isn't quite as easy to master as I remembered. I don't know if it's because I skipped the tutorial this time and I only barely half remember the tutorial, but for instance, I'm getting an A+ on the, I forget what the 3 things they rate your particular individual battles are, but I know the middle one is finesse, and I get A+ on everything else, and I get a D in finesse every time. So I'm clearly missing something, so I should probably go and look through the tutorials if they've got them in the menus, and see what I'm missing. But I don't know, I feel like I lock onto an enemy and I immediately get swarmed, and maybe I just need to play more of a game. But also I don't like the fishing in the game. I love fishing in video games, as anyone who knows me will be able to tell you, but I don't like fishing in this one. It takes an extremely long time in a bad way, and it's frustrating the way you have to I think my problem is it's too realistic. I don't like my fishing minigames to be realistic. I like them to be fun. Besides that though, yeah, I really like it. I mean, the story's not blowing me away so far. It's pretty standard. but it's got plenty of story ahead of it to really kind of build itself out into something fresh and new. It seems to be like an 8 out of 10 across the board in terms of the reviews it got. Obviously you shouldn't judge a game purely by its reviews, but I think that's a good sign. A friend of mine told me the story didn't end particularly well. I don't know how much stock to take in that though. I have some differing opinions. I enjoyed the end of Game of Thrones, so you know what, I'll probably be fine. Although it is true that I think Game of Thrones didn't end particularly well either, I just enjoyed it all the same. I'm enjoying the road trip vibes so far with the boys, and I've already been promised a time skip in the prologue, so that's cool. I'm looking forward to that and seeing how the characters grow and all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, I'll probably get better at the combat as we go along, and it's always a joy to kind of be like, oh, so this is a Final Fantasy mainstay versus just something that Final Fantasy XIV did by itself. I already know Cid's in every Final Fantasy game, but I found Cid fairly early on. I was like, hey, look, it's Cid, and this time he's scuffed. There's an evil empire. I don't know if that's just standard. I've seen it in other Final Fantasy games as well, like Final Fantasy XII. I don't know if it's in every Final Fantasy game or if it's just a theme in a lot of them. I haven't played it in a few days, so who knows if I'm going to immediately go back to playing it or if I'm going to leave it for another time. But yeah, that's not the only game I got myself. I also got Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania with the best soundtrack ever made, or at least the best intro, the best theme tune. I've always wanted to play a Super Monkey Ball game, and I did. A few months ago I played Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz when it was a free weekend. I absolutely, as a rule, never try free weekends because I feel like I'm just going to get disappointed when the weekend goes away if I end up liking the game, and I'm probably not got the money to spend on it if I'm bothering to play the free weekend instead of just buying the game. So that's kind of why I don't bother with free weekends. But just this once I was like, why not? I've heard that Banana Blitz isn't a very much liked entry in the Super Monkey Ball series, so I kind of want to see what it's all about, why people don't like it so much, and what a Monkey Ball game can be even at its lowest. And it turned out I liked it even at its lowest, so I thought that was a pretty goddamn good sign to get Banana Mania when it came out. That was my plan, but because of real life I delayed it until now, and I'm really enjoying Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. I think it's rad. I'm stuck on a world free stage, which is a good sign that it's going to be pretty tough all the way through. I do like my tough platformers, if you can call Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania a platformer. And yeah, I'll be able to get through the level, of course, through time. It's the level where there's pebbles that go up and down, and it's one of those kind of difficulty things where it's like, oh, I can do this, it's just going to be a case of when I get it done instead of, you know, if I can get it done. And yeah, if you're going, oh god, he's stuck on that one, he's never going to finish it, then yeah, I guess that's going to be fun. When I say I like challenging platformers, I feel like I say this a lot. It's mostly based on a Flash game called Everybody Edits, where people could make their own levels, and I just loved playing through a stage because you would play in real time with other players. You would see them, you'd all be piloting, what the fuck is wrong with my vocabulary today? You'd all be piloting an emoji. I think this was before they were really called emojis, it might have been an emoticon, and it was like the Facebook ones. They just ripped off the Facebook icons, the original ones that they had, and before they fully integrated emojis, and it was great. I really liked it because you could see yourself progressing, and you could see there being less players as you got further ahead, and you could kind of rank yourself in real time, and it was always super satisfying to get to the end. And sometimes it would take hours of just trying again and again and again. And so when I say I really like challenging platformers, that's the kind of thing I base it off. I've never beaten Super Meat Boy or, you know, Celeste or anything like that. I don't know if you'd class Celeste as a super challenging platformer. I guess I could say I've beaten all of the Crash Bandicoot games, or at least the entire Insane trilogy, and I was working on getting all of the relics and stuff too. So I like the perseverance. It's kind of like, I talk about difficulty in video games like I don't like Dark Souls. I can't get into it because when you die you lose progress and you have to do things again. I tend to like difficulty when it's difficult but it's not punishing, so you can just like snap right back into the action and you haven't lost a huge amount of progress. You've maybe lost like a 10-second long amount of platforming, you know? I don't like losing like minutes upon minutes of progress. And luckily, Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania has exactly that kind of difficulty. So I'm not gonna like just sit down in a weekend and play through the entirety of it, but like over time, I am gonna keep booting it up and working through levels and stuff like that. A lot like I do with other games like Trackmania Turbo and stuff like that, which is a good example of a game which is not a platforming game but has that level of difficulty where it's challenging but not punishing, because it's like 1.5 minute long tracks that you have to try and do, and that's a really good game. I should get back into that. You know, last week I called it the Weekly Waypoint 194 when I was in the video, and I don't know why, because it's 192, and I just want to give you a little anecdote about that. I just went to save this project as ww193.veg, which is you know, what I shorten it to in my file name, and that had already been taken as a Vegas project, as had 194 obviously, because that's how I saved last week's. But I just went back through my YouTube videos and I haven't missed any, so I'm just wondering, how the hell did I do that? I missed a beat when it came to naming file names, but I still managed to name them the right things for the YouTube videos without noticing until last week. What? I'm very confused. I could talk a little bit more about Final Fantasy XIV before the end of the video without spoilers. I am a little ways into Endwalker. I really enjoy the first 2 zones that you are introduced to in there. One of them has Indian themes, and just from an aesthetics point of view, I've never been a huge fan of their architecture and stuff like that. But I've got to say, this expansion is really kind of winning me over on that kind of thing. They have elephant people, and I love them so much. They are so pure and good. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm up to with Endwalker. I actually felt like going back instead and soloing some extreme trials to try and farm mounts, and I found out that farming mounts in Final Fantasy XIV is a lot easier than it is in World of Warcraft. I think the drop rates are about 5% instead of like 1% or 2% or whatever. You can run those extreme trials as many times as you want. There's no daily or weekly lockouts for those kind of things like there are in WoW. And yeah, I already got 2 of the horses I want. I got the Garuda horse on the 2nd attempt, and I got the Titan horse on the 5th attempt, and I've killed Ifrit like 4 times now and I haven't got anything, but you know, I think prospects are good for the mount collection. The only thing I would really say about that is, you might roll your eyes to hear this, but I think I kind of prefer it being a lower a lower percentage drop, because and maybe like the weekly lockout system too, because there was always something therapeutic about like every week just being like, okay, I'm gonna hit up the raids again, you know, stick a podcast on and just run through them again. Whereas this, it's like literally just solo queuing into a single boss, defeating them in a minute and a half and just spamming it until you get them out. There's something not quite as special about that. Or maybe not special, maybe that's not the right word. Maybe I'm experiencing Stockholm Syndrome. To be fair, there's probably stuff worth soloing the actual duties for as well, that aren't like just the trials, but like the actual dungeons and stuff. That will probably take longer to do. But again, I don't really like Final Fantasy XIV's transmog system. I have lots of issues with it, so that's another thing that WoW does. That I think, I mean, the amount of times I've been saying Final Fantasy does this better, WoW's due. WoW does the transmog farming, the old raid farming stuff better. Some of it for the right reasons and some of it for the wrong reasons, I guess. I really do have a bone to pick with their glamour system in Final Fantasy XIV. It's so restrictive. Only being able to have 400 items, that's not a lot of items when it comes to the amount of content and jobs that you can be on a single character within the game. And you can only have 15 glamour plates when you can have 20 combat jobs on the same character, so you won't even be able to have a single transmog for every single job, which is just why? That's just dire. Not to mention that every 10 levels your job gets a kind of like canon look transmog, I would say, if Estinian is to be any kind of indication of that. I think that's what you could happily call that. And I guess maybe it's kind of like an argument for having multiple characters that just do like maybe 5 or 6 different jobs, but I want to be able to do everything on one character. That's kind of a whole drawer of their job system, dude. Of course, everything else in Final Fantasy XIV, stellar as always. Everything else apart from the things I listed in my Game of the Year blog post, like inventory management, and what was the other one? Oh yes, the alternate leveling. But anyway, that was another episode of the Weekly Waypoint. I just want to put a little addendum at the end of the episode because of what I discussed last week about my health and stuff. Haven't actually managed to get a doctor's appointment yet because it's been the holidays and stuff. Going to be trying to do that tomorrow when it's no longer a bank holiday. Still very concerned. but I think I've figured out what it is a little bit more now, and obviously it's not life-threatening or anything stupid like that, it's just annoying, so I just want to stop worrying about things, to be honest. But anyway, that'll be fine. I'll update you next week, I guess. I guess this is what I do now. Fuck me.